Element of all. So, color is the most wonderful element of design. It is around us all the time and it really influences our emotions. So, there are physiological responses to color, and so people study color and use color in very purposeful ways. And I want you to know about how color works on us. People spend their whole lives studying color, and so there's lots of different ways of interpreting color, of talking about color, and of quantifying color. But for the sake of our very basic introduction, we're going to talk about color in the same way that you hopefully have learned it in other classes and maybe in elementary school, etc. This is our color wheel, and the first vocab word is hue, and hue is the word for any color pulled directly from the color wheel. So if I said, "What's your favorite color?" what I mean is, what's your favorite hue? My favorite hue is red-orange. Every hue, every color, has saturation. Saturation is the purity or intensity of a color, and highly saturated colors are very pure or intense, and less saturation means that they're more washed out and less pure. Sorry. So what I like to say on this slide is you can see the top two pictures. When you take pictures of nature things, it tends to be to your benefit to bump up the saturation. This is when we get a really punchy, aggressive color. But if you look at the bottom, you can see that when we apply saturation to neutral colors, brown, black, white, and gray, when we apply it to brown, the color ends up looking pretty unrealistic. We pull out the warm undertones, and we'll get to the temperature soon, but usually I recommend high saturation for nature pictures and not for pictures of people. High saturation means the colors are very pure or intense, and they're going to tend, if you hot up the saturation on your pictures, it tends to make an image feel more dramatic and bold. Low saturation, on the other hand, is sort of washed out. We've grayed down the colors, and it can make an image feel tired or old, quiet. We've already talked about value, and value is its own element. It applies to black and white. It also applies to color. So value is the amount of light hitting something, or the lightness or darkness of something. So of course this tomato, which the hue is red, when light is hitting it, it's three-dimensional, it has form. And so the places that are closer to the color, closer to the light, are going to have much lighter tint values. So we have like pink almost to white, and then as the three-dimensional object moves away from the light, we get shades or shadows. So I was able to take a little eyedropper sucky tool and suck up all those different values on the side of that red. Every hue is also going to have a temperature. So there are two different temperatures, warm and cool, and we also have neutral. So warm colors, if you were to draw a line between yellow, green, and red, purple, the colors yellow, orange, and red are going to be warm colors. And now you could have a pretty warm red purple if there was a lot of red in it, or a pretty warm yellow green if there was a lot of yellow in it. These colors are bold, intense, fiery, fast, energetic. So these are the colors that our physiological response is to have our heartbeats go faster. And especially when they're highly saturated, if you take a photograph that has mostly warm colors, it's going to be a really intense and bold image. On the other side of the color wheel are cool colors. So that is green, blue, and purple. And again, yellow-green could be pretty cool if it's more green, and red-purple can be a little cool if it's more purple. But cool colors tend to run green, well, they are green, blue, and purple on the color wheel. And so I bet you at least $1 that you can't find a spa that uses red for their logo. All spas are going to use cool colors because they calm us down. Physiologically, we are calmer when we look at cool colors. The picture on the top left is highly saturated, so those are pretty intense. Even though they are light blues and light purples, they're still really intense. But even so, it's a very calm picture. The top right, on the other hand, is very low saturation, and so that low saturated green, that's a really quiet picture. Colors that are not on the color wheel, those are neutral colors. So brown, and then if you will stay with me, I call black, white, and gray also neutral colors for the sake of this class. They're also known as earth tones. And neutral colors vary in value. So that horse is brown, and where the light's hitting that horse, it's light brown, and where there are shadows, it's dark brown. But they don't have saturation. So if you use a saturation filter in photo editing software and you bump up the saturation of a neutral, it's going to take on the warm undertones. So that second picture of the ice cream cones, those look yellow, and that's because we bumped the saturation up, and there's no like really punchy, intense brown. It just gets warm. So that's why skin colors don't do great with a bumped up saturation. It tends to pull the warm tones out, so your skin's going to look pink or orange or red, depending on your skin color. Now, we've just talked about hues have saturation, how intense or dull they are. They're also going to have value, how light or dark they are, and they're also going to have temperature. Are they warm, cool, or neutral? When we start putting colors together, that's when we have color relationships. So mono means one and chroma means color. Monochromatic is all different values of one hue. And it's very difficult to find a completely monochromatic photograph in real life, unless it's black and white, in which case it would automatically be monochromatic. So that top picture, yes, it's mostly monochromatic. It's white and black and then different values of blue, but there is a little pop of yellow in there. And here it's white, black, and different values of red in between. But in general, monochromatic pictures, or pictures that are mostly monochromatic, those are going to accentuate that feeling of the hue. So blue monochromatic pictures are going to be more calm, and red monochromatic pictures are going to be more intense. The next color relationship is complementary. Complementary colors live across from each other on the color wheel. So my favorite hue is red-orange, and the complement directly across would be blue-green. Because they are the furthest apart from each other, they're going to be the most highly contrasting color relationship. So if you can find these colors together in an image, it's really going to be bold and eye-catching, especially if those colors are highly saturated. And the last color relationship is analogous. Analogous colors are next to each other on the color wheel, so it's 3 or more hues that are next to each other. Typically, you're going to find that in sunrises, sunsets. You'll often find these in nature, but it feels much more cohesive and harmonious if your image is analogous, because these colors are meant to be together. They're next to each other on the color wheel, so it makes everything feel more complete and more like it goes together.